criminals are being punished severely, and honest people will, resist from becoming criminals. And that's, it's because in one sense everyone has a criminal mentality, but to some degree, most honest people, they're kind of in between. They are inclined to be honest, and also they're afraid of punishment. So then they stay on the track, and that's good. That's good. That keeps them from whether one it's to one's benefit always that one is acting correctly, whether it's out of fear or it's out of that one is genuine, a genuine honest person, but one should at least act properly. So. But the point was that, but generally just punishments for punishment's sake as such is not really a principle in the Vedas. Generally it's for reforming criminal mentality. So brahmanas can be very easily reformed by simply explained by philosophy, and they will not act sinfully. And if it's really severe, if the brahmana is really a rascal, then the punishment is he's simply banished, he's told to go somewhere else. But others, they will be, kshatriyas, vaishyas, sudras, they will be punished differently. And it can be, sudras can be very, if they're disrespectful towards a brahmana, they hit a brahmana, for example, they will be punished very severely. But on the other hand, then if for something I think it said that for drinking alcohol, if a brahmana drinks alcohol, then there's some very, very severe reaction for him. As I don't know, again, said he doesn't get punished, but he should be very severely admonished for that. If Sudra drinks alcohol, that's not seen so severe. I mean, they do get reaction like that, but that's just where they are at. So it's a very intricate question about what punishment should there be for what crime, for what kind of person, and So actually, to punish is something one has to have really have a lot of good numbers. That's why it's a lot of this is discussed in the Manu Samhita. That's why I said leaders, they should know the Manu Samhita. Prabhupada gives an instruction, and others actually will not really understand Manu Samhita, appreciate Manu Samhita if one is not a leader anyway. So it might not be a book for everyone, but leaders they should study and follow the principles of Manu Samhita. And there is actually to understand how one should punish others. That has to be based on the Manu Samhita. That's of course not necessarily the case nowadays, and maybe it's always like that. That people in general have always all kinds of opinions. He should be punished. Sometimes there's whole campaigns, there's whole uproars. We have to punish such and such for this and that. Now judges, it's very important that they're not, and good judges, they're not moved by these popular moves. They follow the law. Because the people in general, especially those who are not educated, actually do not know who should be punished and who should not be punished. So they can sometimes create a lot of emotion. We have to, I think we've all seen that many times. They have to be. It just becomes a big sentimental emotions, and can become quite hysterical even. But someone who has actually knowledge, he will see, no, this is not. This is not a very severe thing, and will not punish as the public wants punishment to take place. That's not. It's not defined who should be punished and who should not be punished. It's not defined by public sentiment or by democracy and the majority thinks and so on. That's not the basis. It's very important if one is in a position to punish and not to punish. And in one sense, as soon as one is in authority, one has a certain jurisdiction for punishing those that are one's dependents. It's and actually, if one doesn't punish properly, that's also a problem. If parents do not punish their children properly when they need to be punished, then the children will become crooked. They will become spoiled, unregulated, undisciplined. They have to be punished sometimes, but it has to be, of course, correctly. Can be severely if it's necessary. Generally not, of course. One is generally lenient with children. One understands children are children. But sometimes it can be necessary. Or a master sometimes has to punish a servant. And if he doesn't, actually then he's not really merciful to that servant. Punishment, rightly meted out punishment, is actually a blessing, is a kind of mercy when we get punished, because often we cannot learn in other ways. But one has to know how to do it rightly. And that is what is being said. One has to know how to do it rightly. If one doesn't know how, if one punishes wrongly, then of course one will get reaction for that. And one will lose the respect from one's dependence, and one will also get reaction for not punishing properly. So it's something that we have to, one has to learn, one has to study how does one punish properly. And that's, you actually see, it's something that's been discussed from the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, in the chapter 8, about the punishment of Asvatthama, son of Drona punished. What is that, chapter 8?
Certainly. Yeah.
So there, actually, there's a long discussion between Krishna, Arjuna, Bhima, Yudhishthira, Draupadi, what to do with this son of Brahmana who has killed all the sleeping sons of the Pandavas, and 20,000 soldiers were sleeping there. They just went and killed them. He just went and killed them. He was the leading, and others. And then after that, that was Arjuna arrested him and caught him. And then the question was, how should he be punished? Krishna says, kill him immediately. But Arjuna didn't kill him, even though Krishna told him, kill him immediately. But Arjuna, he didn't follow Krishna at that time. He thought, no. So something in Arjuna told him he should not. He's not a Brahmana, but then he's a Brahmana again. He's the son of the Brahmana. And then, when they come back, then there's discussion. And Bhima says, kill him. He should not be, don't show him mercy, should just kill him immediately. But Draupadi says, no, he's a Brahmana. He's a guru, he's a Brahmana, but he should not, we cannot kill him. And Yudhishthira agrees with Draupadi. And then they have some discussion, So it's very difficult there. It's also, what is right and what is wrong. And there are actually several factors. One factor is also that Draupadi had just lost her 5 sons. And she is a feeling for actually the mother of Asvatthama. She has only one son, Asvatthama. Why should she suffer like I'm suffering for the loss of my sons? I don't want to see the mother of Asvatthama suffering like that. That's also a consideration, actually. And anyway, in the end, the conclusion is Arjuna, he shaves off his moustache, he cuts a jewel off his head. He apparently has a jewel on his head. He cuts his hair, maybe in a little funny way. He's ridiculed, he is humiliated, which is also in one sense killing him, to be humiliated like that. And then he's let go. And so they already there we can see it's not easy to decide who should be punished and who should not be punished like that. There's that discussion in the very, very beginning. Also, one thing that's interesting there, you will see that after being punished properly, then one is considered pure. Then one should not be considered looked upon as a criminal. And this is very evident in the case of Ashvatthama, who, of course, gets a very severe punishment. He became completely humiliated. He's driven away. He will have to wander for how many thousands of years, just alone. I think even his body will be emanating a bad odor. No one can be near him. And then after that, and then what happens then? Who remembers? What happens?
He will ultimately get a like a position at the Saptarishis.
You'll go Vyasadeva actually.
Yes.
He's our next Vyasadeva. So and one can say, he did this and he did that. I mean, we have something in ISKCON. We had a big problem with child abuse and what to do with child abusers. Ashvatthama was a severe child abuser, if anyone was, and but he's an ex-Vyasadeva. So after going through his proper punishment like that, then it is a duty to consider him pure. If his mentality is pure, of course he has to reform his mentality like that, but he has sufficiently atoned for his this extremely sinful activity he did. I mean, he killed children, sleeping children, and he's going to be the next Vyasadeva, which is also very instructive. Someone has been punished, and for example, they are again released from prison like that. Then they should be considered pure and treated like that. That's the principle of law. Of course, there might be emotions involved. If you were, the one, who someone other was affected by the crime, maybe you still have a feeling of revenge against that person. But actually, from the strict point of law and the kings like that, then they have to consider these. When someone has done his term, then he's pure again, then he's clean. Okay, so tomorrow there will be a very famous, quite famous verse, very important verse, which the Buddhas, they will reply to on the questions here of the Vishnu Duttas. Yeah, I think we'll stop here.
You can see, because in this day, in Kali Yuga, it's you punish people, you send them to prison, and statistics shows that they come out even worse. So is it that they were so, in the Vedic ages, so qualified to really give punishment that helped the person rectify himself? So actually he got rid of that mentality. Because also they say like all these things like alcoholism and even child abuse, it's some disease practically. At least material is the same, it's in the genes. So but it seems like anyway, what it is, it seems like it's a habit that's very difficult to break if they have these tendencies.
And therefore punishment has to be meted out correctly, and that's not happening today. Punishment is not being administered correctly. It's sometimes the punishment seems too soft. I mean, it has to be punishment has to be immediate and strict and severe, given when we talk about severe crimes. As far as it's crime, criminal mentality being a disease, yes, it is a disease, but that goes for everyone. Prabhupada several times told this. He gave this example that there was a murderer, and the defendant was, you know, he was pleading, actually he was insane when he committed this murder. So then they had a doctor examine the man. The judge had asked a call for a doctor, please examine this man. Was he insane when he committed this murder? And then doctor, after examination, he replied, actually, my conclusion is I have examined so many kinds of people, and my conclusion is everyone is more or less insane. So, if you want to excuse him on that ground, you can. But my conclusion is everyone is more or less insane. So, just that because it's a disease doesn't mean that we should not be punished. Yes, it's a disease, and the cure is punishment for that disease. Whether it's in genes, that I doubt. We looked at genes last night. I mean, everything cannot be explained by genes. Very few things can. I mean, actually, less than you think can be explained by genes. Genes can, you know, make proteins and other things like that. But mentality, yeah, some proteins affect our mentality also. Hormones are proteins, and they can, you know, make us completely wild and crazy. But then again, it's ultimately mentality is beyond. You know, it is the mind, it's a soul which is sick. And there, you know, but punishment it's a science to give proper punishment, and the science has not been followed nowadays. So then criminals, of course, they're not cured for their criminal mentality. Rather, in many cases, they become more criminal than they were. Sometimes the punishment is actually, they hit the right punishment for the right crime. And then actually, there's also some who come out and say that I'm never going to do that again. So and there are more souls born with criminal mentality in Kali Yuga also. But if punishment was actually executed properly, like in some countries still, they are somewhat able to administer proper punishment, severe punishment like that. In those places actually, from what I hear, it's very peaceful there. It's in many Muslim countries like that. And once it's like the everyday life there is actually regulated, peaceful. You can walk on the street without fear. You can leave your belongings and they will not be stolen and like that. So that's well.
Srila Prabhupada, he said once, proper punishment he was talking with a person in charge of a jail. Mm-hmm. You remember this story?
No.
I just wanted to have it confirmed because I'm quite sure he said to that. Or was it a letter? No, I think actually he discussed with the person who was in charge for criminals in the jail. And as far as I could remember, probably he gave them the receipt, the Hare Krishna receipt, as the proper punishment, like they should chant, take prasadam, like this.
Yeah, it's not. It's discussion with Lieutenant Mosi. Isn't that the one we talk about? It's that conversation is in Science of Self-Realization.
Yeah.
Crime, why, and what to do is the headline. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Crime was still on the rise, and why is that? And the Prabhupada says actually it's because criminals have a criminal mentality. It's a criminal mentality, and how do we purify the criminal mentality? It's actually not, prison is not enough, punishment is not enough. The only thing that works is actually Harinam Sankirtan. And Prabhupada suggests that the authorities, they should give us full, they should provide a big place for having kirtans, and then in the city, a very central place And everyone should be invited to come and hear kirtan and have prasad, and that will purify their hearts. So that's actually Prabhupada's, that's Prabhupada's formula for getting purification of criminal mentality.
There was a similar story where there was one person, he was acting as making life members. He called himself a tutor. So he was going to people in India and making life members, but taking the money for himself.
Mm-hmm.
So the police caught him. The devotees found out, and then the police caught him ultimately. And then they brought this person in front of Prabhupada. And this person, thief, a tutor, he surrendered to Prabhupada and said, I've been purified by just being in your presence. I just want to serve you. And then Prabhupada said to the police, okay, then you cannot take him. Because he surrendered almost like Rixi. So he said he surrendered unto me. And the police officer agreed. But they warned Prabhupada, said he's a thief. He's treating you here. But Prabhupada says that might be, but still he's surrendering. So I have to give him a chance. So he said to this a tutor that you can live here and you can do service, but if you do anything like that again, or if you leave, we'll hand you over to the police. So actually he was there and was serving for some weeks. But then one morning, some devotees found him with his luggage, trying to go out the door. And then they brought him to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada called the police.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he gave him the chance.
That was that also shows that if you, surrendering, then actually there's no more any, all reactions from previous activities that are just erased, and you should not be considered criminal. Jaga and Radha were not considered criminals after they surrendered, and that's a problem.
Even Kali.
Even Kali said he personified completely surrendered. Okay. That was just a somewhat technical lecture. Jai. 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 Jai.